KTN Sunrise Live. Glad you're still tuned in. Now, joining me in studio is there are two doctors acclaimed all over the world, Dr. Jim Ayodo and Dorcas Ayodo. They were here last week and got a lot of responses from you, and they're joining us today to just answer some of the questions that didn't get answered. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Great to have you today.
Nice to be here.
Let me start with a basic question. Is it true that it's possible for someone to get healed without using medicine? Jim?
Actually, we've seen, this is the way I would say, we've seen cases where people come with different conditions and they go through nature.
Yeah.
That means using whatever they have around them to treat these diseases. And we've seen them recover. So if we would say, is it true? I would say I've seen.
Okay. Dorcas, anything you can add to that?
I wanted to add on that and say that the other thing is that it depends on the effort of the person who has the disease, because the basic tenet is putting in the foods that will repair the body. So if someone follows through and gets the raw materials that the body will use to repair, then anything can be done.
Do you think people over-rely on medicine because we've been made to think that medicine, the pills, the active, so many medicines are the way to go?
No, I think because we're in a fast-paced world, people want a quick fix. So a lot of times they want something and they want it done now. So most people have lost the patience and endurance that it takes to be able to work through something, because nature takes time. Yeah. If I had a disease, it has built up over 5, 6 years, 7 years. Most people want it done now, so they'll take a pill. But unfortunately, many pills will just suppress the symptoms. So for a while, you'll feel better, but later on, the symptoms might recur. And that's why we are seeing there's a resurgence of diseases that are chronic. You're told you have this disease till you die. Yeah. But if people understand basic science that we learned in primary school and use it towards themselves, then with the right direction, they can repair those things, but it will take a while.
How far of anything you want to say?
Just an example. I just wanted to give an example how important water is. You know, most people don't even know that water, just by using water, you can help yourself. You can help treat so many diseases. Just water, basically water. Something like vitamin D. You know, when somebody lacks vitamin D, or when somebody's bones are weak, you know, just getting out in the sun, just the sun would help a lot, just the sun. So some people think that they have to go to the hospital in order for them to get there, but just going out in the sun, you can take care of so many things.
Okay, I like that you brought that up. We have some supplements, things called supplements in the industry, that if you cannot get this from this specific food, you can just take these pills and you'll be fine. What do you think of that?
Now, it goes back to what we mentioned before. In a fast-paced world, unfortunately, people want things fixed now. Yeah? So I'll give you an example. I don't know the situation here, but in the US, vitamin D deficiency is an epidemic, a literal epidemic. And because of the way society has been designed, we're indoors most of the time. Yeah. In the US, it's even worse because you're either in your car or you're in the office, or anywhere you go, you can do things in your car. So a lot of them are not exposed to the sunlight, and so the vitamin D industry has really increased, has really escalated, because many people are deficient in that. And with vitamin D deficiency, apart from problems with your bones and teeth, other issues come in. Yeah? Your immunity is reduced, and many other things, irritability, mood problems, and yet, just exposing yourself in the sun, especially in the summer months there, because summer months the sun is out until even 9 o'clock. And for us in our country, we are even more blessed because we have the sun all year round.
Winter.
Yes. Yeah. So supplements are a quick fix, and they can boost your levels, but we try and get to the root cause. Yeah. I usually say this, my dad is an architect, and when there's a building and there's a problem, he doesn't go and just look at the wall where the crack is. He'll go and look at the foundation. So the thing is, we're trying to go at the root cause, to people the knowledge, in case they have forgotten it or in case they don't know it, to know where the problem is, so they can be able to tackle it right from the root.
Okay.
And if people would know some of these basics, I think they would reduce their chances of spending a lot of money in the hospital.
VTT will really reduce.
And staying in a hospital all that long. They can help themselves. So we are here to actually educate people to know how to use whatever is around them. Yes.
All right. But just before you continue, probably you could shed more light about your organization. I know you do things to do with the home remedies and all these things we're talking about. Just before we continue.
Yeah, our organization is based on natural remedies, preventive medicine and natural remedies. How you can use what's around you, or how you can use nature to treat diseases or to prevent them. So we travel all around. Like now, I'm the president of the organization Global, but we usually travel. Like this time, we came to Africa in March, and we've gone to different countries, educating people and trying to share with them what's around them that they can use to treat diseases. And she is executive member in the board, the international board. We have chapters all over the world, continental chapters, and we have also chapters in so many countries. So right now we are almost, our time in Africa is almost done. So we're just winding up that we may go to other countries as well.
And the other thing we're trying to push, WHO always says that we're trying to put accessible healthcare for all. And the three things they focus on a lot is accessibility, availability, affordability. And so when you think about that being an ideal form of health as a healthcare model, we are trying to do that because when people have the basic knowledge, it's accessible to them. Like if they're telling you how to use water to help you in treating febrile diseases, using it externally, or internally to help in things as remote as backache, just using water, and we can explain that if we get time. And then it's accessible, it's affordable, it's available. So giving the knowledge that it can help a whole multitude of people, it will help a lot in terms of reducing morbidity. And the burden, the fiscal burden on the government in terms of taking care of the sick is huge, not only in Kenya. Kenya is probably better. You look at the US, they're crying about it. Obama is trying to push for the bill, but he's telling people, both him and his wife, he's telling people, go back to the root cause. And you see Michelle Obama going about talking to children, especially the children, trying to agitate for them to have especially fruits and vegetables in their diet so that the diseases are reduced right from the time they're young.
Okay, we're just about to get to the diseases. I'm sure even the audience at home, that's what they want.
Yes.
But just before that, you've said you've been in Africa for quite some time. What has the reception been like? Are people willing to change?
Yes, we have, people are people. We have people who are excited about it. We have people who are not excited about it. They're like, what is that like? Every time we go and we talk to people, we mention charcoal. They're like, charcoal? You mean we can use charcoal to do what?
I was just about to ask you the same
Yes.
thing.
And charcoal, the use of charcoal is not new. Getting it from even the Maasai's here. Look at the Maasai's. The Maasai's have been using, the Kalenjin, they've been using charcoal all along. They use it in milk. I don't know how they use it in milk. They put it in milk, to draw out the toxins or the whatever.
Yeah.
And you go to the US, the people who go to the space, the astronauts, they go to before they take off to the US, they must make sure that they have charcoal in the shuttle. Look at the hospitals. You go to the hospitals. There's charcoal in there when somebody has poisoning. Food poison, whatever poisoning. They use charcoal. But most people, the submarines they use charcoal.
You're saying
look at that.
If you have food poisoning, how do you take it in? Do you eat it? Do you mix it some?
Now, there's some.
Actually, just talk about charcoal because there's so many things that we can
help.
Yes. A lot.
I mentioned this last week. It has great adsorptive powers. It can be able to pull and bind. That's why it's used in many areas, not only in medicine, but in many areas, from water filtration to the submarines. Now, because of that, there are some outlets that actually sell charcoal as tablets. Yeah, even here in this country, they're just, I guess, because most people have the knowledge of it. Or capsules.
And they're just charcoal. They've not gone under any process.
Now, the thing, when it's in a tablet form, they have binders to put it, to make it be in that tablet form, there are things they add to it. And then because some people like taste, some people add sweetness. Now, the best one, the one we actually recommend, is the one in powder form. Now, you can get that again from health food stores. That's a bit expensive. But you can make your own. You go and get charcoal, as long as it is not adulterated. Sometimes they add chemicals to make it light faster.
Yes.
As long as just pure charcoal right from where they make it.
From the jungle.
Yeah.
Yes, from the
Or from the wood.
You can grind it. If you have a grinder, you can grind it to fine powder, or you can use for those who are in remote areas, you can use the traditional mill, the one with the stones, or even the pot and pestle. I'm saying it wrong. Mortar and pestle.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when it's in a powder form, you take for an adult about 2 tablespoons is adequate, depending on what you have. You add it to your glass of water and stir it, and then drink it all, including the particles. Now, if you grind it very fine, you don't even feel the particles. So that goes into your system. It doesn't go into your bloodstream. It will stay inside your gut, your GIT, your gastrointestinal tract, and it'll be able to. It's almost like a gas reverse osmosis. It's able to pull things from the blood back into the GIT tract, and then you go to the restroom, you pass it out, so you'll have black stool. So it's good to know that, because when you see black stool, you'll be like, what's happening? Yeah. So for about, depending on how frequently your bowel moves. Either within 24 hours, some people between 48 hours. Those who are chronically constipated, it may take longer, but you'll see the black stool coming out with a right hand pound.
Okay, great. So you've explained how to get it. What is it used for?
Talk of some of the things.
One, again, any GIT problem. GIT means gastrointestinal tract, your intestines, your stomach, your intestines. You have bloating.
Does that have stomach ache?
Yeah, stomach ache.
That's one of the main uses. Yeah.
Diarrhea. So it's a nice thing to have in your diarrhea and vomiting, because it will bind. It will bind and then stop it. Yeah. Now, in some instances, depending on whatever toxins you have, you might vomit the first time you take it, and you just take it again a second time, and then it will bind that. So you can also use it externally for things like snake bites. Again, because it has its absorptive power, so the snake has bitten you, but you don't. Now, what you do, you make a paste from it. It's called a poultice. You make a paste from it, and then you take a white cloth, so it acts like a membrane. So you don't put it directly on your skin. Then you put it in the cloth, on the paste. Then you apply the cloth on the wound. Whether it's a snake bite, whether it's a bee sting, whether it's a wasp sting. But it's a chronic ulcer.
For the bee stings,
those are common.
That's vital. So just to get something straight. So you get the paste, you mix it with a bit of water.
You take the powder, mix it with water to make it in a paste form, like thick uji.
Okay, great.
Yes. Then you take a nice clean cloth.
And actually, you can also add flaxseed. You can ground flaxseed just to hold it, to help it hold and remain moist. And if you don't have a flaxseed, you can also use any flour.
That is just more to make it like a binder, because you realize if you try making a paste, it breaks very easily. So the flour tends to hold it together. Like when you're making chapati, the wheat flour is gummy, so it helps to bind it together. So if you add flour in, you just use one part of the charcoal to one part of the flour. Acts as a binder.
So that's for bee stings, wasp stings, and snake bites, and also for any stomach problems, GIT, like you mentioned. I'm getting educated.
And you can also use it for wounds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any kind of wound?
Yeah, the wounds. If somebody has a wound, like I know somebody asked this question. There's somebody who asked this question last time and said they've used charcoal before for milk or for something. They've been putting the milk, but they didn't know that you can use it for wounds. If somebody has a wound, this is how we treat wounds.
Okay.
If somebody has a wound, the first thing we do, we take 2 cloves of charcoal, 2 cloves of garlic, and 1 bowl of onion, and then we mash them, or we blend them in a glass of water, slightly room temperature water. We put it in there, and we take that water, and we pour it on the wound, and instantly the pain disappears.
That's
instantly. Garlic and onion.
Garlic and onion.
Yes.
Instantly, whatever kind of wound somebody has, we've seen this. Instantly, you pour there, the pain disappears. It may at first it may
sting?
It will sting initially. It will sting initially because it's potent. But after that, because the onion family basically anti-inflammatory. And again, you can try in even other aspects. Even for toothache, we do the same. You take garlic and you have a toothache.
Yeah, toothache.
You bite it where the pain is. It'll sting, so you have to know at the back of your mind, let me overcome the pain of the sting.
Stings just a little.
But it stings for a few seconds, and then the pain subsides, because garlic onion family has is anti-inflammatory.
Okay.
Yeah, the stinging is milder than the pain you go through.
Yes.
And
It's better to have the sting.
Yeah, and it's short-lived.
Okay.
Yes, and so we were talking about the wound, and once you do that on the wound, you wait for about 5 minutes or so,
Okay.
and then you take the residue, or you just make another one, 2 cloves of garlic and an onion, a ball of onion, and you mash it. This time you just mash it, and you put it as a paste directly onto the wound. You just put it on the wound. You don't disturb the wound. You don't wash the wound. You don't struggle with the wound. You don't touch the wound. So you just put it on there. And once you put it on there, the pain simply goes deep down and disappears. Then the next thing you do after 10 minutes, you just take clean water, very clean water, and you pour on there just to remove the poultice, the residue, the poultice, and then you take charcoal. Now when you take the charcoal poultice, what you've made as charcoal poultice on a white, nice, good, clean cloth, like cotton cloth.
Natural fibers, because they're more absorbent.
Yes.
Why does it have to be white? You emphasize white. Keep saying white.
Because charcoal pulls. So if there's color, if there's ink there, it'll interfere with its pulling, because
if there's any color, it will pull it and put it in.
Okay. So white.
So it has to remain white. So you take it and you put it in there, and you make a poultice. You cover it. You can either cover it with the same cloth, or what you do, you put it on there, and once you put it on the wound, so you make a size that could cover the wound well.
Okay.
So you put it on there, and you cover the whole thing with a plastic wrap. You know, the plastic wrap that we have in our kitchen, the one you use for wrapping cakes or food or whatever. So you wrap the place. That plastic wrap is to retain moisture, just to retain moisture so that it doesn't dry, and also so that it doesn't go messy.
Okay.
You know, so you wrap it like that. So if it's a wound, depending on how the wound is, if it's so serious, so big, whatever, you can leave it there for 3 hours, and after 3 hours you remove it. You make another clean one. Okay. You let it go for 6 hours, and then you remove it. You put another one for 12 hours.
Okay.
By the time you do that, when you remove it, the wound would have started drying. You do that
immediately.
You do that for 3 days. You'll call me. I don't know how you'll find me, but you'll call me and tell me.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
All right. And I mean, how far can it go? Like you mentioned, you do all those things. If you compare it to the modern medication that we have, what's the difference? How long would this take? You're saying that in 2 days you're okay. If you compare it to medicine.
No. The thing is, it requires effort. Getting charcoal, putting it. But the thing is, the good thing is that symptomatic relief, you start feeling better quite quickly, as you said. Now, when you were mentioning about a chronic wound, like a chronic ulcer, if it's a big size, you'll see it drying. It hasn't closed up yet, noticed, eh? So because people think now, by those 3 days, the wound is sealed.
The wound is gone.
So the thing is, if it was, because a lot of times the chronic ulcers, they're purulent, they're discharging, and they have an awful smell. So it'll be dry, so that it's not social stigma anymore.
Yeah.
Then now, again, I go back to, you have to give your body the right raw materials to seal that up. Now, the food you take is what will repair. That is one.
Yes.
But there are other things that also help in sealing. And
actually, the food part is important. You have to
very, very
explain that the food part is important, because we are dealing with the outside. We also have to deal with the inside. Because healing itself, we empower the body to enhance healing.
Okay.
So the body itself can only enhance healing from inside.
Yes.
So we do our effort is on the outside, but the body has to do on the inside. And so we always emphasize so much on the foods, the kind of foods we eat that will empower the body to heal.
Okay.
And again, from primary school, what were we told? Repair of the body is enhanced by what? Your vitamins, and basically that's your fruits and your vegetables.
Okay.
So that has to be pumped in. In fact, when we're advising someone on what to eat, we tell them, most people don't like salads. Yeah, they say that's for goats. But we tell them that is the key to your health, because we can't tell the body to repair this wound or to repair this crack in your body, and you're not giving the right raw materials. Yeah, it's like telling an architect, build this wall, and I don't have any raw materials to build it.
Okay.
That is a difficult task. So people have to know that they have to increase their levels of plant foods in their diet.
And
Fruits and vegetables.
Okay.
Yes. Now the other thing, last time we started talking about malaria, and we didn't go far.
Okay.
We started talking about malaria, and I know for sure that malaria. So many people get malaria.
Yeah.
And they always go for medication, but they don't know that actually malaria, you can manage this malaria right at home.
Really?
Yes. Now,
Expound on that.
yeah, let me say that sometimes I get excited on this.
Yeah.
Because I know so many people have been helped. Like this last week we were in Uganda. We just came from Kampala yesterday, and we saw a lot. So many people who use that. They,
They're coming to you and saying thank you.
yes. And the other week when we came here, we were in Rusinga, and we saw in the U.S., in Korea, in China, name it. We've been to all these places, and people who have similar conditions. It may not just be malaria, but let me talk about this. Now, the first thing you do, we talked about charcoal. So just the same way we talked about charcoal, the use of charcoal, you take a charcoal internally, meaning two tablespoons of charcoal powder into 1 glass of clean water, drinking water.
A full glass or half?
Yes, a full glass.
Okay.
You take a full glass. You drink that. The reason why we do that is for vomit. Like people who have malaria or people who have similar conditions, they vomit.
Yes.
So in order for us to take care of the vomit part, so charcoal does not treat malaria.
Okay.
We have to be very careful on that. Charcoal does not treat malaria, but charcoal absorbs all the toxins and anything that is already rotten in there that makes you vomit. So they bind it and they pull it out. That's one thing. Now that leaves the body in a healing mode, so the body can actually fight the whatever is there. Now the next thing that we do, we take a bucket of water, a bucket of hot water. We boil water, and like we said last time, the water, we have to test the water so that the water does not burn.
Exactly.
Yes. So you have to put your hand in there. You put your hand way down so that you feel the heat. So if you put your hand down there for about a minute, for 1 minute, you know that your feet can rest in there for about 30 minutes.
And it's important to do that. Let me just interject a little, because your feet are usually more sensitive than your hands, because your hands are used to touching extremes of temperatures. So if your hand can be able, especially the person who's getting the treatment, can be able to withstand that temperature, your legs will be able to withstand without scalding. But when you put your legs the first time, you'll feel like it's hot.
Yes.
But as long as if you had put your hands inside and they were able to withstand, then it won't scald you.
So
that's
how
the process.
hot should the water be? Really hot or just hot?
As hot as you don't burn.
As hot.
The reason why we don't give the temperatures is because we are dealing with the public. Most people that, like when we're here, our main focus is the people who do not have thermometers wherever they walk.
Exactly.
So we tell them how to use the things around them. You just wake up one morning and you feel like you have malaria, symptoms of malaria, and you do this. So your best thermometer is your hand. So you put it there. If you put it there, if you can put it there for a minute, you know that you can hold your feet down there for 30 minutes. So by putting your feet down there for 30 minutes, let me just explain one thing. Mostly if you want to heat up your whole body, you heat up the feet. Yes, then the blood will come down warm. They will come up warm. So you heat up down there, and the blood will come up warm and warm the entire body. Because if you're feeling, if you had fever, you're shivering, you feel like it's cold inside, but hot in the outside.
Yes.
So you warm the body and giving the body an opportunity to heat up and to generate more white blood cells to go and fight. And two, if you look at your hand, this is a very simple physiology. You look at your hand, and you see the inside is a little whiter than the outside.
Yeah.
Meaning, God made us, when you touch anything, you don't know what you're touching. You touch down there, you don't know what you're touching. All the time we touch things. And so God made us with a provision that in case any germs, anything comes in, we have a lot of white blood cells right here that would help us fight the germs.
Okay.
That's one. Two, at the foot, we are not meant to walk in shoes. So we're meant to walk barefooted. And so God knows that down there's plenty of white blood cells just resting, waiting, in store. And so by heating them up, they're heated up and they go up through the blood system and they go fight the malaria.
Okay.
So this is what treats malaria. That water that you put down there, that's what treats malaria. So once you've carved all the things that had already started breaking down in the system through the charcoal, then the white blood cells will be empowered to go up there and help. Now, the other thing also, that white blood cells or the blood we are manufactured in the bone marrow. And so by heating up the bone marrow, especially this one down here, the white blood cells will go up, will be multiplied so fast.
Yes.
That will help us in handling malaria.
Okay.
Now, and three, the other thing is crucial. Now, when you have your feet down there in the bucket, you have to make sure that you wrap yourself or you cover yourself with a blanket because we want to retain the heat. What we want to do is to retain the heat in there. So you wrap yourself all the way to your neck, around the bucket, so that the heat is retained for 30 minutes.
Okay.
And during the 30 minutes, like after 5 minutes, every 5 minutes, you check the water down there. If the water is cooling down, you add
some more?
you add some more. Okay. But when you're adding, please don't burn your feet. Either they remove their feet totally, or you put your hand and you touch the legs, and as you add the hot water.
Okay.
Caution, don't burn yourself.
Don't burn yourself.
Yeah, because we are telling people about this. This is something you have at home, and since you've not gone through medical school 7 years to do this, somebody may be maybe a little careless. But if you can put your hand down and pour the water so that your hand may feel it.
Okay.
If it's too hot, your hand may feel it. Now, after wrapping yourself with a blanket, you have to make sure that you take some water in a cold bucket. If you have, for people who have a fridge, you can put some ice cubes in there. But you make sure that you take a little towel or a little cloth you put in there, and the cloth is for the face. Because we have headache. Headache is simply because your temperature has gone too high.
Yes.
So by putting a cold compress, a cold towel on the face, the headache simply drops.
So that means your body is covered.
Yes.
Is heated up.
It's heated up, but up here is cooled down.
Right.
So down is hot, but up here is cooled down. You do that for 30 minutes. You'll tell me the difference. Now, immediately after 30 minutes, when somebody gets out, you give them porridge. I know there are some people who don't drink porridge. That's another trouble.
I'm one of those.
Now, porridge, especially finger millet or millet porridge. Now, porridge gives the strength. That's where you get your glucose to give you heat. Like when you take porridge, it's instant energy.
Yes.
It's like instant energy. So it gives you the glucose, and the glucose, when you breathe or you get oxygen, it burns down to give you carbon dioxide, water, and energy in kilojoules. And this is the energy we need. So that energy in kilojoules that we need, the white blood cells will use it. Your body will use it to go and fight the disease. So after that, you take a nap, and you'll come out well. But if you've been having this malaria for some time, you may have to repeat this for at least the following day or 3 days.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. We'll just take a short commercial break. After we come back, there are too many messages, that are coming in, and we'll start sharing them with you.
Thank you.
Let's take a short commercial break. More of this doctors coming up next. Stay tuned. Welcome back. back to Sunrise Live. We're still tuned in with Dr. Jim Ayodo and Dorcas Ayodo. We're talking about home remedies and natural remedies. And of course, we're getting so many messages from you, and we'll be just sharing them within just a few minutes. But before the break, you were talking about malaria, how to get rid of malaria, which is a problem to so many people. If you could just recap for people probably who did not hear.
Yeah, I think maybe just a quick one. Oh, no, maybe I can give her the
Okay.
summarize.
Okay. In a nutshell, take the charcoal water, you talked about it before, that to suppress the vomiting and the diarrhea. Then you do, this is called a hot foot bath. You take a bucket, fill it with water as hot as you can tolerate, not too scald, but as hot as you can tolerate. Put both legs inside. Take a blanket, cover yourself up to the neck, not beyond the neck, up to the neck, and let the blanket cover both your body and the bucket, so you retain the heat. In essence, you're trying to generate a fever externally, what your body was trying to do. And then we want to keep the head cool, otherwise you'll get a headache. Yeah. So we have another basin on the side with cold water. If you have access to ice, put ice in. So because if there's ice in, it will maintain the temperature at 0. So you dip a face towel or a washcloth inside that, you wring it out, put it on your forehead, and you change it as often as possible. Anytime you see any dripping of sweat, or usually we say every 3 to 5 minutes, you change the cold cloth, cold compress, to ensure your head is cool. At that point, tell someone to make for you some porridge. Why porridge is good in terms of giving energy. Yeah, not only in malaria, when people give birth, they give them porridge. It enhances many things. So it's a grain, it's rich in energy. So this porridge, let me stress this. It might not be tasty, but no sugar, no ferment. No lemon, just plain.
Be fermented.
Cannot be fermented and no sugar.
And no sugar.
Is
just
it
plain.
Any porridge or is it specific porridge?
Wholesome grains. So the best are things like millet, the traditional grains. We have millet or sorghum. But if you don't have access to that, you can even use wheat. But if you're using wheat, don't use the refined one. Use the atta. Yeah? If you can get the berries, the wheat berries, and grind them yourself, the better.
Like in the US, they use oats a lot.
You can use oats also, or you can use even maize meal. But your maize meal, not the highly sifted one. The one from the Porsche is the best. Go get it. It has its whole brand, and you use it. But in Kenya, I know we have access to millet. So millet is very potent. Yeah.
No sugar. And not fermented.
Yes.
And then after
in all our treatments, we encourage no fermentation.
No fermentation.
Yeah, because fermentation is decomposition. So what we want to do is give them something that composes, not something that decomposes. Yeah, and that's basic science. We learned it in class 6, I think class 6 or class 7. The food chain, on the food chain. So on the food chain, you have the producers, we have consumer 1, consumer 2, consumer 3, or tertiary, and then you have decomposers. So at no time should we give decomposer to people who for healing.
Okay. One of the questions I've seen here is if you can use instead of water, if you can use the charcoal with juice.
Now, no,
they're saying it's not tasty.
It's not. But the good thing about it, it's not tasty, but it's not bitter either. It's bland.
It's just there.
It's bland.
It's just there.
It's very bland. You know, garlic and onion, I understand because it's nasty. It's bitter, but it's bland. And again, it'll absorb things in the juice. That's why I just want plain water.
Okay. All right. Let me just go through some of the questions which regard to what we've just been discussing. Hey, KTN, I'm Susan from Umoja, just asking about the wound. We have a cousin with a wound which is not drying. When mixing garlic and onion, should I cover or leave it open?
When you put in the garlic and onion, the poultice, we call it a poultice. When you mash it and you're putting it on, you just leave it. It'll stay there for about 15-30 minutes, not longer.
Not longer.
Yeah, don't put it too
longer.
long.
It's good that she asked that question.
Yeah.
All right.
Because garlic burns. Let me put this.
All right.
Externally, if you take garlic by itself especially, and you put it and decide to leave it overnight, you will come out with a first or second degree burn. It usually burns through. So you stay with it for 15 to 30 minutes, then remove it.
Okay.
And the other
But the thing also, that's why we often mix it with onion, because onion doesn't have that property. It doesn't burn. Yeah. So that's why we often prefer to mix the garlic with the onion.
Yes, that's what I wanted to.
Okay, great.
Just to make sure that people know that.
All right. There's one here. What about healing bacterial infections? That's taurine.
Okay, of which nature is... Okay, she can't answer. But anyway...
Yeah.
Probably of the skin of... Now, I know we've talked about garlic and onion over and over again, but the reason we talk about it is, one, people know about it. We don't have to go and tell you, go look for the people. Almost everybody knows what garlic is, what onions are, and yet they have broad spectrum effects. So even for bacterial infections, garlic and onion, the onion family, it has broad spectrum antimicrobial activity. If it's fungus, it will work against it. If it's bacteria, it will work against it. If it's viral, that's why when someone has a cold, usually it's viral in nature. You can take those home remedies we make, we put tangawizi, and you can put garlic also inside. So it has broad spectrum antibacterial, antimicrobial properties.
Okay. Are there home remedies rather for healing ulcers?
Ulcers. Yes, I think that's her
forte.
Yes, she likes talking about that. I'll give her the opportunity to talk about that.
Oh, why are you saying that? Because I had them.
Oh, no. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's from experience.
It's from experience. Now, it's just that time limits us, but the underlying cause is what we look at first. Gastrointestinal distress, anything with the GI, is one of the commonest causes of ailments. Most of the over-the-counter medications have to do with heartburn, indigestion. So how we mix our foods, the way we eat, anything that encourages fermentation, in the stomach, depending on what are our food combinations, will enhance erosions. Conventionally, we are taught, and this is partly true, that H. pylori, there's a bacteria called H. pylori that in some people reacts and starts eating up holes. So that has a part to do with it. But the main thing for healing cancers is your salads. I know it sounds crazy. It's the ulcers. You eat your salads before you eat your food. And this I'm talking from experience.
Vegetable salad.
Vegetable salad. And don't add mayonnaise, just plain.
No salt, no mayonnaise, no.
That's as it is.
Don't dress it.
Don't dress it.
Don't dress it. Leave it the way it is.
Now, it seems like a tough call, but if you have someone who has ulcers, it's very distressing. So now, to make it easier for people like kachumbari already. So kachumbari is easy. But now you added coleslaw, but coleslaw without the honey and the mayonnaise added. So you just take your carrots and you take your cabbage and you grate them fine. And then
actually be very specific on this salad. What's the
portions?
The portions.
Okay.
The portions that will work excellently well for ulcers.
Okay. Generally, we recommend, depending on the size of the cabbage, either a quarter, an eighth to a quarter of the cabbage. This is for one person, by the way. It's a huge plate of salad. It's a huge plate. But you grate it fine. And you take 2 carrots, get 2 tomatoes, take an onion and 2 cloves of garlic. The finer you mash them, the easier for you, because if you have big chunks of cabbage, it's difficult to take it. So you mix them together. Now, if it's not so palatable for you, you can increase the amount of things like carrots to improve the palatability. And you take this before. Now, one thing, because many people don't like cabbage is key in terms of ulcers. If you can take cabbage by itself, if there's nothing else, you don't have money, there's nothing else, raw. And if it's too hard for you, blend it. I'm making things easy. I'm giving options. Blend it into a juice and drink it. Now, the first time you take it, you might burp. It may give you some gas. But taking that for a period of 1 week to 3 weeks, depending on how bad your situation is, it helps to plug up those holes, to heal the ulcer.
Okay. Dorcas, there's some foods that people with ulcers are not supposed to take. If I eat the salads before I eat it, does it make it okay? Does it mean I can eat anything I want, like the skumas? I know that one is always a problem with people with ulcers. Does it make it okay?
Now, you'll don't just eat salad and eat whatever else after that, because you're removing a problem and then bringing it back. So especially for the first 3 weeks, those 21 days, just stay. The things that have been bringing issues, just stay off them first. Then, just like the way when they treat allergies, you can start testing a little bit at a time to see if it's still causing problems. But for the first 3 months, the first 3 weeks, keep off those things.
Okay.
Especially fermented food.
Especially we're strong.
Really emphasizing on that.
It's important, yes.
What about heartburn? We know we use milk. Is that the way forward?
Heartburn, fermentation, 0.
Okay.
0. Most people do not know how terrible fermentation is. I wish I had 13 hours just to talk about fermentation only, because fermentation is a bother. It comes with so much. Just fermentation. Most people do not know how fermentation is a problem.
That also goes for the fermented milk.
Oh, yes. Fermentation. Anything called fermentation.
Okay.
Yes. Now for heartburns, as long as you can do the salad, that salad will just erode everything and just wipe it out with it. Yeah. The salad. We call it the salad.
That particular one
is key.
Yeah, because most people here they think of lettuce, and so we're trying to focus on foods that have more healing properties. Basically, if you go to the net and read the properties of things like cabbage, they're huge. Things like tomatoes, they have a lot of properties that help in repair. So the salad, not the lettuce, cucumber when you're used to. Those have their place, but especially this cabbage with carrots, onions are inside there. Tomatoes are inside there.
And if somebody can, just before you go to sleep, you take a glass of charcoal drink. A glass of charcoal drink will help a lot also.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have, when you're taking the charcoal, it doesn't have to be when you have a problem. You can take it when you're also just okay, you're not sick.
Now
it's not food. This charcoal is not food.
Okay.
And so you don't just take it because I heard about charcoal, let me just take charcoal.
Yeah.
No. We usually take it, yes, when you have a problem.
Okay.
Only when you have a problem, you take it. Don't just be taking it anyhow.
Right.
So, or it means, if you're taking it anyhow, it means you're messing up anyhow. Yes. So
That's
what we
people
teach
think,
people,
yeah.
that's why it's preventive medicine. We teach people how to prevent these things. And then, if you happen to have jumped the other side of the rope, then use this.
Okay.
But if you can stay on this other side of the rope, you're safe.
Right.
If I can go back to the heartburn just a little, just to explain why fermentation is one of the causes. You know, when things ferment, there's a lot of gas produced, carbon dioxide for that matter, and carbon dioxide will rise. You'll see some foam. So if that is happening in your stomach, this rises. So it's seafood gravitating back to your esophagus, and then you feel the heartburn. At the same time, a lot of times
And it
people have
comes out
heartburn.
acidic.
Yes. And at the same time, people, because the stomach is acidic, and at the same time, when people have heartburn, a lot of times they have also bloating, just to go to show that there's a lot of gas being produced there. And as I said, fermentation. Now, the other thing that also helps with heartburn, and again, it's a remedy. This is not something that you go do by a bad thing, then do it, because the cause will always be there. This pili pili, cayenne pepper, this small, the cayenne pepper. Now, it's hot. Again, that's the thing.
Yes.
It's hot.
Are they the red ones?
The red
Yeah,
ones,
the red
the
ones.
small ones. Yes, the red, especially the tiny ones.
Yes.
You can take like three cloves, not 3 cloves, they called 3 of them, and grind them fine. Put in just a little water to be able to help you drink it, take it down, and it will burn your mouth. But when you're having that heartburn, maybe you take something, you're having that heartburn, you'll feel it subside, and you'll wonder how it's doing this.
This is hot
pepper.
Hot.
Yeah, but yes.
Okay.
Yes, it will help to alleviate the symptoms, but we have to focus on, and I always repeat this, focus on removing the cause, so it will help alleviate
The pepper does not escalate the pain.
It's just like the garlic. You know, when you're talking about the garlic, it stings you initially, but then it does a good job. We need a nutrition class, let me put it that way. Because the properties of the foods, so it hits hard, but then it hits hard on whatever it's causing the problem to.
Okay.
So one thing I like about these remedies, they're not nice to take in. So it'll push people towards doing what? Towards remedying the problem from the root cause. But cayenne pepper can help. If it's too hot for you, you can use the charcoal.
Can you swallow them? Just, instead of having to take them, to put them in water, when you just swallow them.
Maybe swallow them.
Or eat them up.
That may even be worse. Yeah. That may. Yeah, but if you just take it and swallow it,
the properties won't. You want to break it up, open up, let those things go into the water, and use water as an avenue or as a medium to take down the
and actually, water. If you use water, helps you a lot because water tends to neutralize stuff.
Yeah.
And plus, when you take water will go down with it. Just spread it all over. But if you just take it like that, it will go and it will stick at one place.
All right. Let's move on to the messages. Can I use garlic and onion to treat a wound in an ear? Dip inside the ear.
Don't put it inside because it can get stuck. What you can use, Usually when you have things through the ear, even from hospital, usually you're given drops. So you can make a garlic drop. And what you do, you take, the best recommended oil is actually olive oil. Take olive oil, virgin, extra virgin. That means, when they say extra virgin, it means it hasn't been heated. It has been cold compressed, extracted through cold compress. Take up a teaspoon of that, and then take your garlic, usually a clove or two. And then you grate it fine. You use your grater, grate it very, very fine, or mash it. Then soak the garlic in the olive oil for about 5 minutes. Then you sieve it out, so that you remain with the olive oil. But you've infused the garlic components into the olive oil. Then use that as an eardrop. If you put garlic in, it will get stuck. It will get stuck inside. So use it as a drop. Use 2 to 3 drops inside, and it stay for about 5 to 10 minutes. Then put it out. Then because it's oil, it will come out.
It will come out.
And what you have to do, you have to put it on the other side also.
Okay.
Yeah,
both sides.
Yeah, both sides.
Even
if you have a problem only on one side, but you have to do it on the other side also. So you do this side, and you leave it for about 10 minutes, and then you take it out, you take it the other side, and you do this side, and you remove that side, so you balance it.
Okay. All right. Is there a natural remedy for backaches? You had mentioned that earlier on.
Water.
Water? Really?
I know it sounds funny, yeah, but water. Many people are chronically dehydrated. I used to be chronically dehydrated myself. Most people only drink water
Even
when they're
without
thirsty.
knowing.
Yeah, without knowing. We drink water when they're thirsty. We drink water once a month. Some people, once a week. Because a lot of times the other beverages we like, because sometimes bland, soda. And the problem with the beverages, they also dehydrate because they have components that draw water from your cells. So what happens? How does water help with your backache? Your vertebrae, the bones in your spine, in between we have discs, and they're cartilage. What most people don't know is that they work on hydraulics. So when you're well hydrated, they will absorb water and they'll be able to rise. It'll be like a cushion. If you're dehydrated, what your blood will do, it will draw water from the cells around, including your cartilage. So it'll be like a cushion with nothing inside. It's flat. So that allows the bones to ride on top of bones. So that causes a lot of problems when you're moving. Because this disc is supposed to act as a shock absorber. So if the shock absorber is not working, even if it's in your car, you'll feel it. So just increasing the amount of water you drink, and not 2 glasses and saying that's enough. In a day, you should be drinking quite a lot.
8 to 10? Okay.
Depends on your body mass, but for an adult, you should basically say 8 to upwards.
If you have a back problem, does it mean you take more than 8 to 10?
If you can get more into your system, the better.
Okay.
Yes.
But actually 8 to 10. 8 to 10 would just...
Good enough.
Yeah, good enough.
All right.
And you'll feel there's some relief, because, as I said, the cushion will absorb water. It'll act better as a shock absorber. And the body, apart from the back, uses water as a shock absorber in many places. Your brain itself, full of water. When someone is pregnant, full of water, because it absorbs the shock. So drinking water will alleviate a lot of back pains.
And people also have to know that there are some things that causes back pain, especially if you sleep in a comfort where your back is
Start of pressure.
yes. So you need a flat hard place to sleep. How people
a flat
sit.
hard place.
Yes.
Okay.
Hard to me and is not.
You don't think. You don't
Yes,
see
you
your
don't
carving
sink
at the
down.
center, so that there's a lot of weight on your
So your mattress is flat.
Okay.
Instead of it being like that.
Okay.
And then how people sit. Most people, when they sit, they want to sit like that.
Slouch.
They say, this is I'm in a comfort. You sit like that for 1 hour.
put too much pressure.
Yes. So most people have to know that when you're sitting, most of the time, if you're going to sit for too long, make sure that your back is straight.
Two other things: how we lift loads, and I guess in companies where they have a lot of haulers, they're usually taught. I hope they're usually taught how to lift loads without hurting their back, so that you put more effort on your thighs rather than on your back, because the muscles in your thigh are big and they're strong compared to the muscles in your back. And then the other one, this I might be stoned for, our shoes.
Shoes?
No, I won't talk too much about them. I'll just mention them. But
No, please go ahead.
mention.
No, but it's true. The shoes, especially our dear sisters. Yeah, the shoes are a real problem. Let me just leave it there. The shoes are a real problem because you put a lot of pressure on your back. Yes. When you try to balance yourself as you walk, you put a lot of pressure on your back, and so
Podiatrists, people who are professionals in foot care, they always talk about this, that you bring in lots of money because a lot of back pressure, a lot of back strain occurs because the high heels really distort the way your spine.
That's so disappointing. But it's very important.
It's important to know, so we just let you know.
Actually, the people who put on those shoes, they can tell the difference when they walk on high shoes and when they go flat.
Okay.
When they go flat, they feel so relaxed and comfortable, and there's no pressure, there's no strain on the back.
We'll reconsider that. Moving on. Hey, KTN, are you talking about charcoal as in Makai? That's Joyce from Roy.
Yes.
This question has been asked by so many people. I think they're
it's
like,
Makai. People don't look at it as something that can be helpful.
Makai, the black one.
Makai.
The one you use for cooking in your kitchen, but not the one there's one that is chemicalized. The modern one that is not that one. You take it the way it is, straight from from the Masai land, from the woods. I always say straight from the forest. You take that. That's the one we're talking about.
Okay.
Why Makai is effective? It's how it's produced. It's different from ash. You know, ash, you burn wood in a lot of fire, you get ash. Makai, for those who know how to make Makai, it is slow burn.
It remains carbon.
So last time we mentioned it, that microscopically, if you look at the structure of charcoal, it has different pores, I say holes. It's like sponge. And the different holes, let me put it that way, allow it to bind to different molecular weights of substance, different molecular weights. That's why it's a great adsorptive, and it's D, adsorbs. Yeah, if you go back to chemistry, you know what adsorb. It's different from absorbing. It holds onto it, binds it, and then removes it. So it's that charcoal.
It's Makai.
Yeah.
Makai.
If you're in doubt, go and buy the one in the store that's already made, but it's Makai.
Yes, and actually, maybe just before we wind up, there are two things that we really wanted to talk about that's affecting so many people. One, I would want her to talk on yeast infection.
Yes.
That's something that's really out there. You cannot leave this place before you talk about.
There are also so many
yeast
questions talking of the same.
Yes, yeast infection. Please talk about yeast infection. And finally, we have to talk about high blood pressure, hypertension. Those are two things that are affecting so many people. I saw even in Uganda, when we went to Uganda, we talked about it when we were at the golf club. And so many people just came from nowhere. And you know, in the golf club, that's where you have who's who.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, oh, those guys, you're talking about me. You're talking about me. And so they really wanted to know the remedy. And the remedy is so simple.
All right, let's get to
it. So simple.
Okay, so you start with hypertension because it's easier. The hot foot bath, what does a hot foot bath do? Apart from the things we talked about in the treating malaria febrile illness, it opens up your blood vessels, the key thing in hypertension is that you have your blood vessels are plugged up. So the hot foot bath helps to lower your pressure because it will reduce resistance, allow the blood to flow easier, so your heart doesn't have to pump as much. So that will do.
And the same procedure, you put your hand in first to just make sure.
The same procedure.
Okay.
This time you're focusing on its ability to dilate blood vessels. And then the second thing, the garlic and onion. I said garlic and onion has a lot of things that it helps in. One is to, quote unquote, thin blood. And as I said, the main thing that plugs up your arteries is actually cholesterol. Cholesterol plugs. And they start forming even before birth. So it will help to literally say melt up the cholesterol and put it out. So that helps. Usually the hot foot bath will reduce your pressure by about a third of its increase. And then the garlic and onion will reduce it by another third of its increase. Now this other third is diet-based. And usually when I talk about hypertension, I tell them, go read the Bill Clinton story. He talks about, his daughter Chelsea became vegan, but totally plant-based. And so in her wedding, she said, only vegan stuff. So Bill Clinton tried it. And to his amazement...
Actually, it was pushed into it.
To his amazement, it helped his heart condition. And you see, hypertension is part of a vicious cycle because it affects your heart also. It can lead to heart failure. It can lead to heart attacks. It can lead to strokes even.
Yes.
So he was amazed that just altering his diet from animal-based to plant-based, relieve something that would have needed a bypass, some drastic or some radical surgery.
Yes.
And the reason behind this is because the only source of cholesterol are animals. Yeah. Plants don't have any cholesterol. That's why you see even nowadays the cooking oils they sell, they say no cholesterol. If it's from plants, there's no cholesterol.
Yes.
If it's from animal, there'll be cholesterol inside. So removing the source of cholesterol then now helps to remove all the other blockage, and then your pressures will be within normal. And today, nowadays, in fact, I see very high pressures. Before we'd get at 160 over 90. Just yesterday, there was someone who had 225 over 110. That, if you're in hospital, like you're going to stroke, you're very, that's high. And especially the diastolic, the lower pressure seems to be getting higher and higher. But what footpath still helps? The person I'm talking about actually did that.
So at what point should you use is it when everything is going haywire, or when you know you have hypertension, it should be a habit?
You can do this anytime. Even if somebody is heading to emergency, you just do that. Especially the hot foot bath. You do the hot foot bath, it drops by a third. Just instantly drops by a third. And like she says, the other third, if you take a garlic and onion drink, another third goes. And then the other third will go in your diet. But just remind people that if you do this today, by evening, in the night, when you go to sleep in the night, it will come back again by a half of what it was the previous day. And then you do it again, you eliminate a third of what you have then, and then the third day you do it again, a third. By that time it will be normal. So if you just maintain your diet, I guarantee you'll feel so good. We've seen this work with so many people, so that gives me the joy and comfort